The Kenya National Rally Championship returns for another year of hard-fought competition, taking in 8 rounds from the sun-kissed beaches of the Indian Ocean to the slopes of Mount Kenya and shores of Lake Victoria. Kenya remains the birthplace of rallying in Africa. No other country boasts such as variation of terrain and challenging stages. With support from the title sponsors, KCB, the championship continues to grow from strength to strength, each year attracting young drivers to the sport, with increasingly expanding entry lists at the start of every event. 2013 promises to be another exciting year of the close-fought battles, drama and excitement, starting off with the KCB Kajiado rally held on the outskirts of Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Scrutineering for the event was held on Saturday at the Kenya Motorsports Club, with fans eagerly waiting to see what new cars and sponsors would be unveiled. Defending champion Carl Tundo starts 2013 with a new sponsor, Menengai Oil. Carl dominated the 2012 championship, clinching 6 wins ahead of 2011 champion Ian Duncan. Despite being crowned champion in Eldoret, he still went on to win the season-ending Guru Nanak Rally. Tundo had traded fastest stage times with teammate Alistair Kavanagh throughout the season, and the two had been the pace setters throughout the year.
Same as every rally, it's just attack, try and win, go for fun, enjoy, new sponsor, a bit of pressure, bit more pressure to hold on to my championship as well. But in the end of the day, everyone's under a lot of pressure to do well this year, so looking forward to it. No, it's exciting.
Kavanagh's challenge for the title disappeared with a string of retirements. He eventually finished down in 5th, but he did manage to finally clinch the win on the Mombasa rally that had so far eluded him. Despite missing the opening round, he will be back in Voi to open his 2013 campaign. Duncan often found himself off the pace of the pair in front. However, a win on the Kisumu rally kept his championship hopes alive. He eventually had to concede defeat in Eldoret, but you can be sure he will be determined to chase down his 7th title in 2013. Consistency is the key to success in rallying, and Azar Anwar is the master. Unable to match the speed of the top drivers, a string of good results meant he finished the championship in 3rd overall. Chasing down the Mitsubishi trio was the Subaru of Baldev Chagar. Often struggling with the lack of rear suspension travel, he was unable to match the pace of the Mitsubishis over the rough stages. However, he still managed several podium finishes and will be hoping improvements to his car will enable him to fight for the 2013 title. Other notable drivers included Raji Barij, whose speed in the Evo 9 threatened to dethrone Baldev as the fastest seeing driver, but he will need to be more consistent in 2013 if his raw talent is to yield him the result he deserves.
Well, I know it sounds perhaps cocky, but I like to set my goals high, which is how I've always rallied. And obviously having an Evo 9, which Ian, Flash, Alice, everybody's driving, that's won the last few championships, having the Kibos sponsorship behind me, and having a year of experience behind me, obviously I want to try for the championships. That's what I want to do.
After entering 2 rallies in 2012, Jas Mangat from Uganda will be competing in all 8 rounds this season and should not be discounted as a title challenger. In the F2 category, defending champion Nadim Kana will be missing from the action this season, leaving Dennis Mwenda to lead the challenge in his Toyota Sprinter, having switched from the VW Golf for the last 3 rallies. He was soon setting fastest times and will be the man to beat.
We've done quite some work on the car. We've improved on the suspension, which is what let us down in Guru Nanak. And I'm sure this time around it will not let us down.
The Classic Cup was dominated by Aslam Khan in his Porsche 911, often finishing high up in the leaderboard ahead of more modern and powerful cars. This year's championship will hopefully bring out more classic cars, and expect Ian Freestone and Jonathan Somen to challenge for the title, as well as Hardev Singh Sira, who will be doing the whole season in his Ford Mexico. Samira Khan will once again be heading up the ladies' challenge. In the S-Class, the Chana brothers battled all season in their Toyota Celicas, but it was Jaswinder who would eventually take the honours. Jasmeet has recently purchased a beautifully prepared Mitsubishi Evo 9 from Finland and will be looking for top 10 results in the main event.
Okay, the car's from Finland. It's an ex-Juha Salo winning car from Finland. Why the change? We need to go ahead. We need to fight. I need results.
As the cars gathered for the start on Sunday morning under bright clear skies, there was excitement amongst the crews as they prepared to start the 2013 Kenya National Rally Championship. The KCB Group CEO, Joshua Oigara, welcomed crews to the new season and underlined KCB's commitment to the sport.
KCB has been involved in the rally for the last 10 years, and during that period, we've seen immense growth in the profile of the rally. From a handful of few participants then, before the KCB KMSF partnership that was mooted by a number of rally drivers now chasing championship points. And today we have an average of 55 entrants, showing the increasing interest in the rally among the youth in this country.
With the top 8 seeded drivers rotating starting positions, Raji Barij would be the first away. The organizers had chosen a very fast, smooth event. Starting from the KMSC clubhouse, the route headed behind the Gong Hills to Ole Polos before a high-speed dash from Konabaridi along the edge of the Great Rift Valley to Kajiado. Stage 3 and 4 took competitors across the plains to Konza before looping back to Isinya on the Namanga Road. These stages will be repeated for 5 and 6. The service park will be based in Kajiado town, where the event would also finish. Raji Barij was quick out the box, setting the fastest time on the short opening section to Ole Polos, opening a 3-second lead over Ian Duncan, underlying his intentions to challenge for overall honours. However, a small off at the start of the second stage, followed by a fuel leak, meant he was to be one of the first retirements. Carl Tundo's title defence came to a halt with a blown turbo at the beginning of the second stage, and they could only watch as their rivals went past.
Yeah, not the start we needed for 2013. Turbo let go in the second section, but anyway, that happens.
Similarly, Quinton Mitchell also retired after damaging a rear wheel on a rock whilst driving blind at the end of the first stage. Duncan went second fastest on the opening section, then fastest on the long 44-kilometer Konabaridi Konza section to open up a 35-second lead over Peter Hosse in the Evo 10. With the demise of his rivals, he was poised to take control of the rally. Peter Hosse picked up a puncture towards the end of the second stage, but was able to continue without changing it, but still dropped time to the leader. Baldev Chaga was having to back off on the long straights as the car began overheating. He was already a minute down on the leader by the end of the second stage, but there was still lots of kilometers ahead. With the demise of Barij, Tim Kibo's hopes were left in the hands of Jasprit Singh Chate in the sister Evo 9, and he was not about to let the team down. 8th fastest on the opener, he went 6th on the second and was lying in 4th overall. Izar Mirza was slow to get going on the first stage, but soon got into his stride, going 5th fastest on the long Konabaridi stage and moving up to 5th overall in the process. Manveer Singh Barian was still settling in with a new co-driver Drew Sturrock, who comes to Kenya after 2 years of competing in South Africa. Barian went 3rd fastest on the first stage before a puncture on the second cost him over 8 minutes and he plummeted down the leaderboard. Alex Hosse's rally got off to a difficult start, losing over 7 minutes in the short opening stage when a turbo pipe came loose. He went 4th fastest on the second stage, but the time lost meant he was down in 17th overall. Fad Bari's rally got off to a poor start when the gear selector jammed and they had to limp out of stage 1. Eventually, they were reduced to gears 1, 3 and 5, but still went 7th fastest on the second stage. Alistair Keith and Tariq Malik were the surprise package on the opening 2 stages, starting at 27 on the road. They were setting impressive stage times and arrived at the Kajiado service lying in 6th overall and leading the S-Class. Azhar Anwar was content to settle into the rally. He lost time with a puncture, and with a large gap to the leaders, he was happy to play the waiting game. 7th was a good position to strike from if those ahead faltered. Jasmeet Chana was enjoying the new Evo 9 so much, he opened it up on the second stage, setting the 9th fastest time and arrived in service lying in 8th overall. Onkarai was looking for a good result in the opening round of 2013. His N16 was also running in R4 trim and was settling down well despite losing time on the second stage. Teammate Tajveer Rai was slow to get going, losing over a minute on the short opening stage, but soon settled down and was gradually increasing his pace. Rounding off the top 10 was Asad Khan in the beautifully prepared Subaru Legacy, which came to Kenya as part of Subaru's 6-car attack on the 1990 Safari. His run would come to a premature end on stage 3 when the diff exploded after landing heavily off a jump. Defending S-Class champion Jaswinder Chana was 22 seconds down on his brother and third in class, and will be looking for more pace on the following stages if he was to take maximum points from the first round. Dennis Mwenda's bid for 2013 glory was getting off to a good start. He was wringing every ounce of speed out of the sprinter on the fast opening stages, throwing caution to the wind in a bid to open a gap on his two-wheel drive rivals. Adnan Suhail dropped a minute and 4 seconds to Dennis. He was last seen on the 2012 Safari Rally, and it was taking a while to shake off the cobwebs. He was steadily increasing his pace in a bid to catch his rival ahead. Aslam Khan was expecting a tough competition with Ian Freestone, but found himself with a big lead in the Classic Cup after Freestone retired at the beginning of the second stage. The Porsche driver was mixing it up with the more powerful modern cars in front and was lying 14th overall. Hardev Singh Sira was settling into the event in his Ford Mexico, a car whose history included the London-Sydney Marathon and is also the car he completed the 2009 East African Safari Rally in. He was lying 18th overall over 3 minutes down on Khan. As the crews arrived for the first round of service, the talk around the park was about punctures. Despite the route being one of the smoothest in recent years, sharp stones were playing havoc, leaving crews wondering what approach to use on the following stages. For rally leader Ian Duncan, he had been lucky to get away with only bending a rim on the first stage.
We just bent a rim and then one tyre had a bulge, so we just changed them in transport. Nothing serious, so it's probably going too fast on the rocks. Okay, just try and keep it running quickly without any problems. I think the problems in this rally will be punctures or if you tear bits off the car, because there's a lot of rocks lurking around somewhere, so it's just to be careful really.
Alex Rossi was hoping for a clean run on the following stages.
Unfortunately, the first stage wasn't going quite to plan. About 500 meters in, one of my turbo pipes came off, which meant that I ran out of turbo on the whole stage. I stopped, tried to fix it in the stage, but I couldn't quite get it into position, so I drove slowly through the stage and managed to fix it in the next road section.
Baldev Chaga was hoping to solve his overheating problems if he was to challenge for the win.
We're keeping it as clean as usual, as possible, as fast as possible, though we've had a bit of an issue with the engine temperature going high. So we've been backing off like in the last stage, which was quite long. So instead of sitting in fifth gear, foot down, we're actually backing off so the temperature comes down, then push again. So I lost a bit of time there, but at least we're still here. From what we see, many other people are having problems, so we'll just keep it consistent.
The championship continues to attract an increasing number of lady crews keen to demonstrate their abilities in a male-dominated sport. Missing from the start list was Samira Khan, whose Ford Escort was regular on last year's events. Keeping the torch burning were the Haraka Mamas, driven by Joan Nesbitt. They were getting to grips with changing wheels.
We were doing very well. I wasn't going too fast, but just good enough. And I felt a puncture. So like, oh my God, Tammy, do we really have to change this? Yes, we have to change it. Let's change it, get out, change it. Fine, we managed, a few cars past me. I was very upset, but that happens. So we made it in time. We actually made it just in time.
Caroline Gatimo is a graduate of the Kenya Rally School and was putting theory into practice with young navigator Wangoi. They were making steady progress in their bid to record a finish and gain valuable experience.
I'm very happy. We've started off very well. We've done the first two controls very well. This is my first time into service ever since I started rallying. It's exciting.
It's the mechanics that keep crews in the race, and with a fixed service time, the crews need to be at the top of their game to make sure the cars are ready for the next stage of competition. Stage 4 took the drivers across the plains to Konza before looping back to Isinya. The stages had been graded recently and drivers would be able to open up and attack. It wasn't long before news filtered back to the service area that Duncan had punctured. He lost just over 3 minutes changing it, and with it, the lead. He managed to go fastest on the 4th stage, but the damage had been done and he now trailed Chaga by over 2 minutes. This promoted Peter Horse into the lead. He went fastest on the run to Konza, opening up a 25-second gap over Chaga, but could only manage 9th fastest on the 4th stage, dropping him back to 2nd. Chaga's luck held, and he avoided punctures on the way to 2nd and 3rd fastest times. The mechanics had been unable to solve the overheating problem, so he was still having to back off, but ended the 4th stage with an 8-second lead. Manveer Singh Barian began his fight back up the leaderboard. He was 4th fastest on the 3rd stage, then went 2nd fastest on the 4th stage, only 7 seconds down on Duncan. He returned to service back up in 8th overall. Jasprit Chathe continued to impress with his clean driving style and consistency and was still holding on to 4th overall with a comfortable 2-minute gap to the car behind. He could afford to be cautious. If Jas Mangat was disappointed with the start of the rally, it wasn't showing, and he set up 5 times on both stages as he worked his way back up the leaderboard. John Nganga was quietly going about his business. He set 10th fastest times on both stages in his Impreza and was slowly making his way up the leaderboard. He was lying in 14th overall. Alistair Keith continued to lead the way in the S-Class despite dropping off the pace a little, setting times outside the top 10. He was still holding on to 9th overall. Alex Ossie was having to fight back after a disappointing start, and he was making good progress in the Moto pickup, climbing 7 places to get back into 10th overall. Fahaz Khan was another competitor who had suffered mechanical woes, blowing a shock on the 2nd stage, but he would set top 10 times to finish in 11th overall. Mahesh Halai in the beautifully restored ex-Kavanagh Impreza was setting consistent times inside the top 20 and would eventually finish in 15th overall. Ben Mushemi in the ex-Kaltundu Evo 9 was another victim of the first stage. Losing over 7 minutes, with a finish in mind, he was setting times just inside the top 15 but would eventually end up in 17th overall. In the two-wheel drive category, Dennis Mwenda continued to be the fastest out on the stages, beating Adnan Suhail by over 1 minute and 30 seconds on stage 3. His pace dropped on stage 4 and he could only take another 5 seconds. But it was all to be in vain after Dennis picked up a 3-minute road penalty for checking into a time control early. Adnan Suhail now led the group by 1 second, heading back into the 2nd service.